Hey everyone, welcome to Ash on Comics. My name is Ash, and these are comics. Specifically, these are Man of Steel from the new series by Brian Michael Bendis, issues 1 through 3 out of 6, heralding the coming of Brian Michael Bendis over to DC from a long tenure at Marvel. This tenure has been very controversial due to the late career of Bendis. A lot of social justice warrior controversy at the House of Ideas, and Bendis has been hip deep in it. Specifically, in my case, the one that's most egregious is the Iron Man and Riri Williams. Just what a complete sociopath of a character, just so terrible. And I mean, with Iron Man being such a B level hero for so long until the MCU, I mean, people forget nowadays that Iron Man was nothing. Like, it was a trash character. Not trash. I mean, he was a solid character, but he never excelled. And it wasn't until the movies, the Iron Man movie, just knocked it out of the park. And then all of a sudden, Iron Man became a household name, and a big part of it is Robert Downey Jr. just completely transforming how we envision Tony Stark. I think that's what made it. Tony Stark was just a bore before. Tony Stark added fun to him. But be that as it may, you have got this character who only in recent times has become popular because of the MCU, and then you're going to trash him? Like, what? Marvel, I don't know what Marvel's doing. So, DC fans, Superman fans in particular, really upset about what's going on. They do not want to see the destruction of Superman the way that he destroyed Iron Man. And I can understand those fears, but I didn't share them. I was actually very optimistic. I put Man of Steel on my pull list and the two Superman books as soon as I found out about this. And I did not. Keep in mind, I was not buying any Bendis books at Marvel. I don't actually get any Marvel books currently. But I remember Bendis, why Bendis has his name, why he's famous. And it's not because of Iron Man. It's because of his early work. He established himself. He came out of nowhere. And, his old Daredevil run is probably only second to Frank Miller. And that's really saying something. Bendis has got talent. He's obviously knows what he's doing when he wants to put on his A game. And I think that's the problem, is that Marvel, he was not putting on his A game because Marvel has an editing problem. And they've hired a bunch of assistant editors to oversee these books. They don't know comics. They don't care about comics. And Bendis is a huge rock star at Marvel. So, do you think anyone's going to tell him? Do you think any of those editors, anyone besides maybe Brevoort, is going to say, hey, Bendis, you can't be doing this? No, the guy probably has a clear carte blanche to do whatever he wants. And when you do that, sometimes it's really bad for you. Sometimes you grow complacent and lazy. When you're allowed to phone things in, we're humans. We phone things in. When you're allowed to write 5 or 6 books simultaneously, and you don't have to put the effort in to actually do what you should be doing, you do it, you get the big paychecks, and the quality suffers. And no one says anything because you've got star power. I think that's what's wrong at Marvel. That was my prediction. DC, on the other hand, seems to have a clear control over their line. I think Jeff Johns is really steering the ship in the right direction. I think he's doing for the comic line, for DC Comics, what Kevin Feige is doing for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think having that clear vision, that directorial, that creative direction, he may not be doing the creativity himself, but managing it, overseeing what other people are doing, having that vision all be in line. It's something that Marvel used to do. I mean, that came out of Marvel from the 80s and 90s. And that's why that place used to be such a, just, they used to be so good. I'm just sad at what Marvel's become. Anyways, so here we are today, Man of Steel. Did he deliver? Well, it's too early to tell, I think. But it's not too early to make a prediction. Here we have Man of Steel, half the arc. And let me kind of just skim through these real quick. Here we have the start off. I really like how the book starts off. When you flip open this page, it's very simple. I'm sure the artist was like, yeah, I'm getting paid to draw a circle. I just love the way this is. It sets the mood and the atmosphere, you know, and something like this is very, sometimes it's not given enough consideration. You know, you look at the opening crawl in Star Wars, in and of itself, had you never seen Star Wars before and I just like told you, hey, this movie has a crawl, you'd be like, I don't care, whatever the deal. But once you've seen it, once you know how it all goes together, how that gets you in the mood, and you're like, oh wait, I'm in for something. This book kind of does the same thing. I love just boom, Krypton. Okay, I know where we're going. It's many years ago. Okay, so it's Krypton in the past. It's, you know, a lot of Superman stories have started out this way, including the Man of Steel movie. Hey, Man of Steel. A planet of truly vile, insipid creatures. Every single one of them. And I warned you, all this day would come. I read that wrong. And I warned you all, this day would come. That sets a mood. First of all, you know there's one guy who's a prophet of sorts, predicting what's going on. And what's going on? Krypton is vile, insipid creatures. Wait a second. I thought they were the home of Superman. And here we go. A nice establishing shot. Marvel, do you understand what this is? Apparently not. Sorry for the glare. Yeah. Here we are introduced to a new villain. You get some text. It's not too heavy. It's kind of sets the tone of who he is. You got these guys. I'm not sure who they are. These like the Guardians. I'm a noob when it comes to DC universe lore, especially the cosmic stuff. I started reading Green Lantern to try to get up to pace, but DC's got a complicated world, and so I apologize if I don't know all the history and backstory. I think these guys, I'm going to call them the Guardians, even if I'm wrong. You can correct me in the comments. So the story starts off, we're introduced to the villain. I don't really like the look of this villain. I think he's too brutish. He kind of reminds me of Doomsday with an axe. And I'm of the opinion that I don't think what makes Superman interesting is him fighting big brutes. I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, we gotta make someone tough enough to beat Superman to make him interesting. I don't think that's what Superman's about. But we'll see what this guy is. I wish they would have done something a little bit different. I hope he's just not a Hulk smash, you know, type of villain. I like the way this book starts off. We have the small-time crooks are pulling off a job or whatever. They're talking to each other. And they're like, oh, you know, watch out. He's listening. Can't say key words. You know, and they're like, shut up. I already, you know, prepared for this. And, you know, too cocky, of course. And see the blur, you know, Superman's coming. I really like the idea that Superman kind of has words that he red flags, you know, that trigger him in. It's not important. It's boring to see Superman deal with small-time crooks, but this is not what that's the point of this story, or this part of the story is. This is to establish the flavor of Metropolis and the criminals and the things and what the world is like with a Superman in it. And I really appreciated just that dialogue. Flavor is a very important thing in comics. It's I think it's very underrated or just not considered enough. Writers could do a much better job of taking that into consideration when they write to like add that polish and make the world have that flavor that draws them in. So we get some more of this type of thing. Superman fighting fires and saving kids and puppies and all that old school classical stuff. That's in and of itself isn't interesting. We all know Superman. This is no challenge for Superman. But again, it's sort of just establishing the world of Metropolis and what it's like to have this hero save the day. And this fire has become actually more relevant later on. This is also a catalyst for him to meet this new character, who's a girl. She's a chief fire inspector or assistant. I forget exactly what her thing is. Someone did a review on this that I watched, and they looked up the amount of women who have been in her position. I think they said it was like 3 in the whole nation or something. Or, it's like incredibly small number, which could indicate like, okay, forced diversity. I don't have a problem with this because I can believe, number one, a woman obviously is in this job, and I don't have a problem with a woman being in the job. And more importantly, what the real issue is, I don't feel like this is being forced down my throat. I don't feel like Bendis is writing to me and saying, listen, you white patriarchal, idiot, women are powerful too, and they can. It's not being written like that. She's just the inspector. That's it. Move on. There's never a feeling like that. And that's the way you need to write. Yeah, I just... I wish I could get through to some of these SJW writers and it's like, look, it's not your beliefs and politics that are a problem. It's how you insert them into your stories and let them take over your stories. So anyways, he has her dealings with her, and you go back to Rogol Zar and fighting, and he's doing his stuff. There's other people who've gone through these comics in more detail, so I'm gonna kind of try to go fast because I'm going through 3. We get some life and times of Clark at the Daily Planet and Lois and stuff, and then you get to this scene at the end where they're at their house, and it's like, oh, what, Clark? Dad, what's going on? And this all happens, and get behind me. And then it's like to be continued. And this is an important scene that Bendis is going to come back to throughout the comics. Or throughout this series, at least. So we know it's a pivotal scene. Issue 2. This cover, aside from just being kind of an uninteresting cover, annoys me. Because this has nothing to do with the comic. Ma and Pa Kent are not in it. There's no presumably that's Superman as a boy. I don't understand what this is totally unrelated. If this were like an alt cover by like a prominent artist, maybe. I just don't get it. But again, starting page, it follows the same theme as the last book. Love this. I love getting me back in the mood. I haven't read Man of Steel in a week, so I flip open this book. I'm getting my Star Wars opening crawl. Okay, good. I'm good. So then, Krypton is no more. So now we know Krypton's destroyed. So we're moving through the history we kind of know. Except this time, because of the past book, we know Rogol Zar was wanting to get rid of Krypton. So is there something nefarious going on here? I'll tell you where there is something nefarious going on here is this. The credits. 3 different artists, all doing different pages. What is up with that? This is a book that should have been planned. Seriously, like, if you can't get this right, don't do a weekly book. It's very annoying, and a book of this stature should not happen. If it's a smaller title, if it's Blue Beetle or something, whatever, I guess you get away with, that's where you put the amateur hour, so to speak, like, this is the big leagues book. This is where everything runs like clockwork. But I guess things break down. So again, we have these guys, and I'm calling them the Guardians, and they're arguing about Krypton, and like the main point, Rogozar comes to us with a grotesque idea to cleanse Krypton. He asks permission. We unanimously vote no. You go tell him, and now Krypton is suddenly no more? I will not entertain this one moment. We'll see what the King Manager or Sardath thinks of this. And so these guys are at odds over what's going on, and then this guy starts lecturing him, saying, oh, well, if you want to take this up, and you think Rogol is really this bad villain that you claim he is, what do you think's really going to happen then, if your theory is true? Do you really want to tackle this guy? And, he starts, I don't know, starts thinking about it. He takes off. He crowns down. This makes me think, he's complicit in actuality, and there's some diffusion here. There's something happened. Something duplicitous happened with the ending of Krypton, and these guys are part of it, and they've been covering it up. That's what I'm led to believe. So we get over here, back to Earth again. I like this back and forth, then and now sort of stuff. I like how this establishing shot. People always talk about big establishing shots, like a full-page spread, and those are important for their proper place. But sometimes just a small little panel right here. We know it's Daily Planet. Boom. So as soon as I see this, I know I'm inside the Daily Planet. That is great visual storytelling. Like, that's a very important, both the artist to convey it, but the writer to know how to plan that. And I like this panel. And I've seen critics, other people say they hated this, or they thought this was unnecessary, all this detail. I completely disagree. Because it's a shot of inside the Daily Planet, and I do like the detail of all these different characters. Presumably there's going to be certain characters in here that he's been saying he's going to be introducing a lot of new side characters. And I like this detail of getting a shot of the office place where Clark and Lois work that we don't normally see. And it's just one panel. It's not like he's every single thing wasting time with that. Then it goes back to typical, close-up panel shots of characters and their dialogue. I appreciate that a lot. So we got new characters and happenings at Daily Planet. And then we go over to Superman, more flavor. He's fighting big giant robot. At first I thought this was kind of silly. I was like, oh, goofy, he's fighting a robot, blah, blah, and, it's like, I have rights, absolutely you do, just, okay, and then it's okay, it's Toyman, and it's just kind of funny, like, I don't know, like, again, it's not there to be like, oh my god, Superman's gonna beat this robot, can he do it? That's not the point, that's not the conflict, this is all flavor, to give you a feel of who Bendis' Superman is. He has interaction with Hal Jordan shows up to be like, yo, what's going on? He's kind of concerned because the big thing, kind of Lois is missing, and he's like, hey, what's going on with you? You want to talk? I'm here. Superman has been bottling something up inside, so he's like, I'm out of here. Not going to talk, kind of spurns Hal. And then he cuts back to this scene. This is obviously now what's going on in Clark's head. It's like, that's great. Boom, I'm out of here. I can't handle talking right now. It's too emotional. And inside his head is this. Again, that's good storytelling. It's not just what's in the word balloons. It's the process of taking the audience through the plot. And again, now this is a good use of a big establishing shot, right? We haven't seen it presented big yet. We've seen a little. Oh, now we're finally going to see what's going on. Except we got ads. And Superman, back to reality. Superman can't handle it. He's flying. His destination is the moon, where he just impacts. He's sobbing. He can't handle. He's an emotional breakdown. Something big happened. We don't know what yet. We only fear the worst. So now we're on some other planet. Looks, Star Wars Cantina-ish type thing. This may actually be something in DC Universe that I don't know. I'm probably sound like an idiot right now. But, characters in the bar. Oh, what's going on? Sees the Superman thing. Recognizes it as Kryptonian. Why is that? Well, because it's Rogol Zar in the present, who presumably Thought all Kryptonians were dead. They're not dead. There's one that's left. I must kill him. That's what I'm interpreting from that. Establishes motivation for the character without having to do exposition. I can just extrapolate that. And the best thing is I could be wrong. And Bendis could use that as a red herring. Either way, it's good writing technique. So here we have the story. Again, these panels. So all these panels small because this is not significant. I mean, overall it's significant because you're starting to learn that these fires are like a pattern or something bigger going on. But it's not significant that in each panel. So don't devote a lot of space to it. Get the story going. Good storytelling. We got Perry White, not Steve Perry. Perry White having a breakdown here. He's worried about the Daily Planet's being sold. I like this aspect. Now we have the drama of the planet and what's going on. This is a modern world where newspapers don't exist, except in comics. And Bendis is addressing that. Now we're going to address, finally, 2018, why the Daily Planet is still printing paper. Why are people using typewriters? Like, oh, that's Perry White, I guess. Going through time. He's got a laptop. So I misinterpreted that at first. And then Rogozar is on his way, of course. So I like that. It's kind of building up to something. And then revealed the maniac who killed Krypton. So I guess it's no mystery. Now it's on the cover. Back to the thematic shot. This time Earth, no text. Because nothing's happened yet. So now we're in the present. Anything goes. What's going to happen? And I want to talk about this real quick. Look at this. No dialogue. No narration. No exposition. So many modern comics don't know how to do this. This is important skill in comics. There doesn't need to be talking all the time. This is incredibly important for, if you just look at all the SJW comics that you see out there. I challenge you, go look at Champions, go look at America, go look at the Iceman, go look at the Wasp, go look at any, and see if you have visual, dramatic storytelling like this. You won't. It'll just be characters blah 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 blah, 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 blah talking about their social agendas. So here we know he's been coming, so presumably that's him, right? He's coming, thematic, boom, crashes on Earth. Yep, we were right. There he is in all his glory. He's scary looking. What's he looking at? Boom, panel shows us. Fortress of Solitude. Boom, he breaks in. There he is. A look of determination. Here he is inside. Again, still, just telling the story with pictures. This is how movie making is done. You know, you don't just constantly have people blabbing. You can show, not tell. Look at this guy. He's just ugly. Like, I think he's probably unnecessarily ugly, but I think that shows how old and weathered he is. Oh, he's unhappy to see Kryptonians. What's going on? Then he has to deal with the defense robots, which naturally are no threat to him. And I want to point out something here that does annoy me as a critique. This panel. This is 11 panels over 2 pages. So 5 and 6. You do not need to stretch a small panel across a page like this. Especially when these panels, look at the space right here and right here, are worthless. This panel could be stretched over. This could have been condensed. This panel is not served. It's not like this is a huge action shot. Okay, yeah, he's dodging a laser, but we never thought, like, oh, if you needed to have that, stretch it across the page here. Have some panels telling the story here, some panels telling the story. Big dodge laser. This is not necessary, and it cuts through. It just, on digital, this will work. If you read this digitally, like I like to read a lot of comics on my iPad Pro, it's gorgeous. Big 12-inch screen. There's no seam cut. It worked. But on a page, you got to consider the print reader. So back to present day Metropolis. I love this. I love the detail of this house or this building that was burning. I like that attention to detail that the artist took their time to show that. Back to this character who seems going to be an important character in Superman's life. He spooks her because he's like, shows up. Oh, you startled me. And this, I have to give credit where credit's due. This scene up here next is, so flip back and forth. He startled her and he says, so I brought someone who might help shine a light on this investigation for us. Who is that? Well, of course, it's Batman, of course, because he's, Superman's got friends in high places. And of course she's like, oh shit, because, shines a light on him. Boom, there's Batman. Oh shit. Okay. I scared her by accident. You did that on purpose. I'm Batman. If I were drinking, I would have spit my drink out when I read that. It struck me as so funny in my head. I was reading and the Christian Bale Batman voice came out, and I loved it. These two panels, and that it's simple, right? But it just worked, and I think in a day and age where so many writers are just trying so hard to write this quippy dialogue and everything, it's just sometimes just the simple basics. Just let characters be themselves, and you can have simple interactions. And since I know Batman and Superman, I was able to read it that way. And yeah, I applaud Bendis for just not trying too hard and just letting the scene carry itself. And I hope other people read it and got a kick out of that too. So they're investigating. They think those fires are a bigger issue. They're all linked, but they can't figure out who. Superman's kind of perplexed because it's happening right under his nose, and he doesn't know what's going on. So that's a side story. But he's got to leave. And here's another thing that I loved. Well, not loved, but I just thought it was interesting. So, she's looking around, and she's like, oh, hey, Superman, what's good? Oh, wait, where'd he go? Superman disappeared, which is usually Batman's gig, right? And then he says, Batman says to her, something I've learned. If the politest man in the galaxy has to be somewhere so fast he can't even say goodbye, there's a good reason. And so it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Superman, what's he going on? What's going on? Oh, he's going to Fort Solitude. And again, look at this visual storytelling. Establishing shot, crashing out of the sky, Superman, blinding speed through the atmosphere. Love that. Nice. That iconic hovering pose, seeing the Fortress of Solitude on fire. This is the same perspective we saw Rogol Zaar looking at the Fortress of Solitude. The same perspective, him breaking in, but he sees it on fire, and he's distraught, unlike Rogol Zaar. Great. Tragic. What's going on, Superman? He's emotional. And this is what I love about Superman, right? Like, so many people that are naysayers, Superman's like, he's just so powerful and he's boring. And Superman's a person. Like, if you forget about that and you just think of him as just a super being and that's it, then yeah, he's going to be dull. The guy, he's a man like the rest of us. He's a human. Well, he's not human, but he's a person that has feelings, and yet he does not let that get in the way of him being Superman, and that is what makes him heroic, because I don't think any of the rest of us would be able to do that. Supergirl's there ahead of him for some reason, don't know why, but he's distraught because the city of Kandor looks like it's been destroyed, which is a city of Kryptonians, the last Kryptonians. I liked this. Not because I like to see Kryptonians killed, so to speak, but I kind of do. Here's why. So, I have a problem with there being more than one Kryptonian. I think Kal-El needs to be the last son of Krypton. Like, okay, well, Supergirl's a girl, so he still is the last son. Last son of Krypton means he's the last Kryptonian. Other than Zod. Zod's okay because he's a villain. But there shouldn't be Superdog, there shouldn't be Supergirl, Superwoman, Super this, Super that. every single super character diminishes Superman. Now, if you want to have a Supergirl or whatever, that's fine. Just don't make her Kryptonian. Make her something else that has similar powers, a backstory that gave her similar type powers or whatever, and she decided to identify herself as Supergirl in homage to whatever. That's fine. But you don't need to. Oh, look, she's just because now not only is he diminished, but you can just pull this out of your back pocket anytime. Oh, I need another Kryptonian. Hey, look, there was this other Kryptonian who's been on this planet the whole time we never knew about. And it's just, I think it's silly. So having a whole city of Kryptonians is problematic. So having them die serves two purposes. One, gets rid of that. So now we don't have to worry about them from a world building perspective. And it establishes strong motivation. Superman is upset. He's crying. He's emotional. He is going to avenge these Kryptonians. And it establishes Rogozar as a bad guy. Everyone wins. Well, so to speak. Alright, so Superman's upset. He couldn't save him. He promised them they would save him. Back to that scene again. Everything's anchoring around this scene. What happened to Lois and John? Obviously they're missing. We haven't seen them. Oh, we're going to see who is it? Oh, we don't know. Back to normal time. Keep teasing us. I liked this shot a lot. Superman's now realizes the threat is here. He's following the trail, he says. He knows his tricks. And here's Bendis establishing that Superman knows what he's doing. This isn't a brand new Superman. He may be a Boy Scout, but the guy has saved the world over and over and over. So he's not naive, and it takes a lot to get a one-upping on him. And that's important because here he gets one-upped. This all serves the purpose of you going, oh yeah, Superman knows what he's doing. Oh, he's on, oh yeah, boom. Doesn't matter. Rogozar still got you. So this all happens. And here we take the second egregious problem that I have, even worse than the first. Again, 11 panels. Stretching this shot, which you don't even see full Superman. Why does this need to cross a panel like this? It could have been down here. But more importantly, the reason why I dislike this one even more is because, okay, this, what is this? Why? So you go from here to here, cross the page. So now I know I need to come over here, but I come over to here and the border is at the page. And everything that comics has taught me is when a panel ends like that, I go down to here. Except I already went across the page, so I'm assuming maybe I go across the page, I got to continue that pattern. The problem is I can't tell, does this scene happen after this? Because it very well could, but this could also happen next. Because this panel could. Alright, so I had a weird cut there, and working with minimal tools here, I'll get better as I go on. But you got the point. These panels are a little confusing, and even if, some readers might be like, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal, if it takes you out of the comic for even a second to go, wait, that enough right there is more than it should, You just don't want to see that. You want to stay immersed in the story. So, moving along, the final page of the book is a big 2-page splash. I don't think it was quite necessary to have a 2-page splash for this, especially since I don't think the art is really up to snuff for a 2-page splash like this. I mean, you're going to give me 2 pages like this. Make it. Come on, knock it out. But whatever, I'll take it. That's ticky-tacky, I guess. There we go. So that is Man of Steel. And I hope that I've kind of conveyed why I thought about it and what's good about it. There's some things that he can definitely nitpick. He can point out some structural issues, but in the greater scheme of things, those are minor. as long as you've got a good story, and quality art, which these books do, even though they're kind of like all over the place with multiple artists. Something's got to have happened over at DC. Like someone got fired, or some had a problem in the family. I don't know what happened. I'm sure something must have happened to them to have to scramble, and that's unfortunate. But I think with what they've managed to pull off is really well done. And even if this isn't Bendis at the top of his game, man, this is better. Tell me what Marvel's doing better than this. Okay, maybe Venom. Maybe I'd be surprised to know. I could believe Venom. I think Donny Cates and I'm sorry, I forgot that artist are doing some good things over there. Even though I'm not reading, I'm kind of like living vicariously through the reviewers, and I'm wishing I did. If you're doing a book better than 90% of what Marvel's doing, you are doing good. You can't really complain. So this is it. 3 more issues. I hope continue the trajectory up, and don't just drop the ball, which is very possible to happen. I don't think it's going to happen though. I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic. I still wish Bendis wasn't doing both Superman books. Just no matter how good he is, if he's going to write 2 books, write Superman and do a Batman book. Sure, do that. But don't. I appreciate if you're going to have 2. If you're going to have 2 comic books, or 3 or 4 or whatever of the same thing, the reason to do that is to have different voices, to make different perspectives. Otherwise, just have 1 comic book and make it bi-weekly. Or in the case of, if you're going to have 4, do it weekly. You don't need to have multiple titles that are essentially the same book. It just kills me. And Bendis, I think, is going to do that. I think he's going to tie the 2 books in together too much, so that you have to buy both books really to follow the Superman story. Whereas, before, I was happy with just Tomasi's run on Superman, and I was okay not getting Action Comics. I'm sure it was a good book, and the people that liked it, more power to them. Like I don't have anything negative to say about the book, but the Superman book was the one I preferred, so I picked that, and then I got to take my $3.99 or $2.99 or whatever it was, and put it on a different DC title. I mean, I'm still giving my money to DC. I don't want it to all be Superman. I want to explore the various books, and in this case, it happened to be Green Lantern, which I really want to learn more about. That is the most convoluted series. Not that its series is convoluted. It's just there's so much complexity and background to Green Lanterns. It's really hard for a newcomer to jump in. Anyways, this is Man of Steel. I hope you liked it. I hope that I didn't drone on too long. I know this was a long video, but it was 3 books, approximately 10 minutes per book. Not too bad. Tell me what you think. I'm really curious what other people are thinking about these books now that there's 3 of them out. And, educate me about things on Superman, by all means. The DC Universe, I have a lot to learn, and that's, I'm fortunate, though. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think getting to learn about the world and everything, and not just, have it all be old hat is a fortunate position to be in. I'll talk to you later, and thanks for watching. Bye.